All right, if you've got a discrete math exam coming up, you've come to the right place. We're about to build the ultimate study guide for what's gotta be one of the trickiest topics, the if-then statement. Let's crack this code together, shall we?
Okay, let's just jump right into the big question that trips up so many people. What does if P then Q really mean when we're talking logic? I mean, it sounds simple enough, right? But the rules, they can be seriously counterintuitive. Just stick with me here, and I promise by the end of this, it's all going to be crystal clear. So here's our game plan, our roadmap for today. First, we'll tackle the basic if-then statement. Then, and this is a big one, we're going to decode the truth table. After that, we'll see what happens when you start flipping and negating things, and I've got a little secret for you about the contrapositive. It's an absolute lifesaver on exams. And to wrap it all up, we'll look at when the logic goes both ways. Sound good? Let's do it. All right, let's dive right in. Everything we're about to talk about, it all comes back to this one core idea. So, this is it, the implication. You might also hear it called a conditional statement, or just the good old if-then statement. In logic, we write it with that little arrow. P implies Q. The P part, that's our hypothesis, our starting point. And the Q, that's our conclusion. Pretty simple so far, right? But let's make it a little more real. Okay, check out this example. Let's say P stands for it is a holiday, and Q stands for the store is closed. So, P implies Q is basically making a promise. The promise is, if it is a holiday, then the store is closed. And you got to remember that word, promise. It's the key to understanding everything else. Okay, next up, the truth table. And listen, I'm not going to lie. This can be tricky, but honestly, if you can master this next part, you've pretty much mastered the toughest part of implications for any exam. This is the big one.
Okay, so this is where people usually get stuck. There's this one part of the truth table for implications that just feels wrong at first. It's counterintuitive, but trust me, there's a really solid logic behind it, and we're going to break it down step by step. So here it is. This is the golden rule you have to burn into your brain for the exam. That if-then promise, it is only broken, it is only false in one very specific situation. When the if part is true, but the then part is false. Think about it. If it is a holiday, but the store is open, well, that promise was a lie, right? It's false. In every other case, the statement is considered true. And here's that weird part I was talking about, when P is false. If it's not a holiday, who cares if the store is open or closed? The original promise was only about what happens on a holiday, so the promise hasn't been broken. Here's your key takeaway. A false premise can never, ever break the promise. Write that down. All right, now that we've got the basic if-then down, let's meet the rest of the family. See, from any one of these statements, we can spin off 3 other related statements. And you absolutely 100% need to know these for your tests. And here they are, the converse, the inverse, and the contrapositive. Yeah, the names sound a little complicated, but don't worry. They're really just different ways of rearranging or, negating our original P and Q. The best way to think about them, they're like remixes of the original statement. Okay, this slide right here, this is your exam cheat sheet. Seriously, pause, take a screenshot, do whatever you need to do. It's super simple. The converse, you just switch the order. The inverse, you negate both parts. And the contrapositive, well, you do both. You switch the order and you negate both parts. Got it? Good. Okay, everybody lean in because I want you to pay close attention right now. This next part, this is the secret weapon. This is the thing that's going to help you absolutely crush problems and proofs on your exam. Of those 3 variations we just met, there's one that is way, way more important than the others. And here it is. An implication and its contrapositive are always logically equivalent. What does that mean? It means they have the exact same truth value. So if P then Q is true, you automatically know, no extra work needed, that if not Q then not P is also true. This is a total game changer, especially for doing proofs. It's like a freebie on your exam. Let's make this super clear with an example. Okay, the original statement is, if it is raining, then I won't go to town. Now let's build the contrapositive. We flip them and negate them. So it becomes, if I will go to town, then it must not be raining. See that? They're saying the exact same thing, just from a different angle. They are logically identical. All right, we are in the home stretch, our final topic. So far, we've been talking about implications, which are kind of like a one-way street. But what happens when that logic becomes a two-way street? What happens when the arrow points in both directions? Well, that's when you get a biconditional.
This is called a biconditional statement. And that double-headed arrow is your big clue. You read this as P if and only if Q. Sometimes you'll see it abbreviated as if. And this is a much stronger, much stricter relationship than a simple implication because it's really two statements in one. It means P implies Q and Q implies P.
And the good news is, its truth table is super straightforward. The biconditional statement is true only when P and Q have the same truth value. That's it. They either both have to be true or they both have to be false. If one is true and the other is false, nope, the whole thing is false. It's a strict two-way street, right? They have to be in perfect sync. So there you have it. We've cracked the code. You now have the tools to break down these logical statements, which is going to be huge for your exam. But here's a little challenge for you. Let's take this outside the classroom. As you go about your week, start really listening for if-then arguments. You'll hear them in ads, in the news, just in conversations with friends. What kind of flawed logic can you spot now that you couldn't before? It's pretty eye-opening. Thanks for tuning in.